And when there's content being reposted that uses QAnon slogans, and when there are these sexist, misogynistic posts, it's interesting to me that you don't think they're bad. You have no problem with them.
I didn't say that. I said that I don't think voters care. I think that voters care about the, I said.
Shortly after, Donald Trump further disgraced himself and his party by publicly sharing a really vicious misogynistic attack against Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The Trump campaign's official spokesperson, Karoline Leavitt, was interviewed by CNN, and it went disastrously, and we have to talk about it. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is pretty awkward for the Trump campaign, Karoline Leavitt in particular, because she was interviewed by CNN and asked about what I'm about to show you, and it went very, very poorly. But here is the super gross misogynistic attack itself. Republicans against Trump shared an image of it saying, Donald Trump just reposted this on Truth Social. The man is utterly unfit for office. Donald J. Trump retruthed. Picture of Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton. And what he reshared was the comment. Zeke Arkham, user, funny how blowjobs impacted both their careers differently, thus continuing the misogynistic attack that both Secretary Clinton and Vice President Harris owe their careers to their sexual interactions with other powerful men. That's the attack. Well, for some stupid reason, Trump campaign spokesperson Karoline Leavitt agreed to be interviewed by CNN, and this was brought up. And there was no real good way to answer this question because, of course, it's just an indefensible move by Donald Trump. And Karoline Leavitt took a bad situation and made it much worse with her really stupid answers.
Donald Trump is the candidate of stability. You say that Donald Trump was the candidate of stability. Why was Donald Trump, over the last 36 hours on his social media, reposting slogans from QAnon and reposting misogynistic, sexist content about Vice President Harris?
Well, look, I don't think your viewers at home are concerned about social media posts. I think they are concerned with the news of the day. And the news of the day is that a Venezuelan illegal immigrant crime gang has taken over a hotel in rural Colorado because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's open border policies. The news of the day is that, again, gasoline prices are 50% higher today than they were under Donald Trump. The news of the day as a new mother.
Do you know why he posted that? Do you know why he reposted that content?
I haven't been able to talk to President Trump yet this morning because he is calling into media interviews, unlike Kamala Harris, who has been avoiding the press for more than 40 days. And we're excited that CNN finally has the opportunity to question Kamala Harris tonight about her disastrous record. And we hope that Dana Bash, and we're confident that she will ask tough questions of Kamala Harris's record. Because again, Americans aren't concerned with social media posts and silly memes. They are concerned with the problems that are plaguing them and their families right now. And they need and deserve answers to the questions of Kamala Harris. Does she still support a ban on fracking? Does Kamala Harris still support eliminating cash bail for violent criminals? Does Kamala Harris still support decriminalizing illegal immigration? And again, I ask, and I hope CNN will ask Kamala Harris this tonight, why does she believe she deserves a promotion when she has been responsible for the failures of the past 4 years?
Did you ask Dr. Phil, or did you tell Dr. Phil what questions you hoped he would ask before interviewing Donald Trump?
No, we don't have to do that, unlike the Democrats who have proven to give questions to Democrat candidates in debates and past
So I will talk about the interview in a second here, but I do want to ask you again. The social media content reposted by the Republican nominee in the last 36 hours, how do you explain it? How do you explain why he is reposting content from QAnon and this misogynistic content?
Again, I will say I have not spoken to President Trump about that content this morning, and I don't think Americans are concerned with social media posts. But you said misogynistic. I assume you're also going to say that the posts were demeaning to women. I think what's demeaning to women is what has been allowed to happen over the last 4 years. I think what's demeaning to women is the fact that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are allowing an invasion of illegal criminals into our country, many of whom have proven to be rapists and murderers. I think what's demeaning to women, like like Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungre and Rachel Morin is the fact that they are no longer with us because of the policies of this administration. And that is what voters and your viewers care about, John.
Well, look, I think the voters can care about a number of things. And when there's content being reposted that uses QAnon slogans, and when there are these sexist, misogynistic posts, it's interesting to me that you don't think they're bad. You have no problem with them.
I didn't say that. I said that I don't think voters care. I think that voters care about the. I said I care about what's happening to our country right now. I care about the fact that as a new mother, baby formula is 30% higher and costs more than it did under President Trump. I care about the fact that we have a vice president today who wants to be the president of the United States that hasn't sit down for an.
So, couple of things. You see how she stumbled there. Well, I'm not. Well, I didn't say that it doesn't bother me. I just, what I'm really bothered by is what's going on in this country. So a couple of things. Congratulations to Karoline Leavitt on recent motherhood. Baby formula is high in large part because Republicans refused to pass Democratic-led legislation a couple of years ago to actually cap the price of baby formula to help subsidize baby formula, make it cheaper. Number one. Number two, the situation at the southern border. Again, Republicans own that. There was a bipartisan, relatively conservative border bill that gave Republicans far more than Democrats got in divided government. That was endorsed by Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. James Langford was the architect who wrote it, perhaps the most conservative Republican in the Senate on the border. And the only reason that it was scuttled was because your boss, Donald Trump, wanted it as a wedge issue for cynical political purposes. So again, Karoline, if you're watching, and I'm sure you are, please like and subscribe. If you and I agree that there's a problem and we initially agree to work on it in good faith, and then the last second I stop working on it and I prevent you from bringing that solution that we both worked on, that we agreed to a crisis that we both acknowledge happened. If I do that, then it's actually all my fault at that point. Like, again, it's like a three-legged race. If we start to participate in this three-legged race, no matter how much we dislike, and then I drop to the ground and hug your leg and prevent you from crossing the finish line, that's all my fault. Likewise, with the southern border, it's all your party's fault. It's all your cult leaders' fault. They are 100% responsible for the situation at the southern border. Now, of course, you can say, well, the polls say otherwise. And fair enough, that's a question of perception versus facts. The facts are, it is all your fault. The perception may be different. That's because Democrats have to do a better job of campaigning on the southern border since you all have done it so well. But facts are facts and polls are polls. And since, let's talk about the polls. You say, or the Biden-Harris administration, things have been really disastrous for women. It's interesting because if you look at the polls, women say that they prefer President Biden and certainly Vice President Harris to Donald Trump. Why is that? Why is it that the person posting these misogynistic, sexist attacks on his political opponents is hemorrhaging support from women, infinitely inferior to the support that women are giving for the Biden-Harris administration and the Harris-Walz ticket? Why are you all struggling so much with it? Could it be that stuff like this from Donald Trump really doesn't help and actually further cements this idea that he is a wildly sexist and misogynistic person who doesn't care about America's women? Perhaps the fact that he presided over the overturning of Roe v. Wade with his hand-picked Supreme Court justices is further turning women away from him, which is why your party has suffered defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat at the ballot box since Roe v. Wade was overturned. She tries to be like Kellyanne Conway. She tries to deflect very adroitly. But unfortunately, even with the minimal pushback provided by this CNN host, I think John Berman's his name, she doesn't do particularly well because he just waits her out and then he returns her to the original question, which is, you can talk about policy all you want, but character actually does matter in elections, whether you or I or anyone like it or not. It's part of the reason that Donald Trump is not winning this election at the moment, because he certainly enjoys a polling advantage on a lot of these issues, but it's not enough to bring him over the edge. You actually have to get your candidate to be likable, and Donald Trump is just not likable. He's never been popular. He's never been likable. The polls reflect it. And doing stuff like this doesn't help. This is not going to help him. It's only going to hurt him. And I don't envy the situation that Karoline Leavitt is in. I really don't, because how do you explain a candidate who is so stupid, so incompetent, and just so genuinely awful? But she made the choice to go work for him, so she's aiding and abetting all of that awfulness along the way, and she's trying to compensate with lies about the current state of the situation. Republicans own the situation with baby formula. They own the situation at the southern border. And yet, they would have you believe everything else. Very strange stuff. Of course, crime has dropped under the Biden-Harris administration compared to the Trump administration's, stratospheric heights, particularly in 2020. The macroeconomic metrics reflect better for the Biden-Harris administration than they do the Trump administration. So it'd be one thing if she was like, this is such a paltry issue in terms of policy, but here are policy facts that I can appeal to. But she's not even doing that. She's deflecting from a major vulnerability with lies and hoping that it carries the day. But I don't think it will. These polling momentum, or this polling momentum, particularly for the cohorts that Trump needs to try to win, like suburban women, this sort of thing is not going to help. And so I don't know. As I said, I want Donald Trump to lose, but as a student of politics, I'm just stunned that he is so undisciplined and so stupid that he reflexively does stuff like this. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments.